I had a question from a younger friend from maybe a comrade from Nigeria. Aren't I scared of Washington D.C. and this latest situation where they've allowed these Ukrainian roaches to attack the Russian long distance radar warning system. Thus uh, you know, possibly putting us on a course for, misunderstanding in terms of tactical, well, in this case, long range nuclear weapons, um, and, basically nuclear holocaust. Excuse me, pollution here in Leningrad and my heart defect, but um, I guess my answer is, I guess it's, I don't know, historical material, philosophical, and that, leads also, I guess, to the emotional uh, level as well. Um, but that, what was I going to say first? I guess, yeah, like, I'll just say on the rational level, on the strategic level, or even tactical level, I was a federal anti corruption hire for the city of Chicago for 15 years. From my own personal lived experience, I'm 55 now, and, I dealt with these fucking cockroaches and Uncle Toms and, wetback fucking filth in the city of Chicago. And, my life's dream is just to go back and take out the trash in Chicago. I'd love to see a collapse of, on one level, of America and, its manure contraption that supports all of this vermin, such as, to give you, some discrete examples. In Chicago, they're basically my coworkers. I was a truck driver. At one point I led pickets against this fucking roach, Daly, Richard M. Daly. He stole our work. He sold it to his mafia buddies, and they brought in these fucking Ukrainians and fucking Mexicans, and to scab on us. Most of my coworkers were black, right, from the ghetto, and or what. They had a skill like I did, so they could get jobs elsewhere, right? So they weren't the worst off. The worst off maybe were the janitors later on, from the ghetto again mostly, and they had probably very limited options, uh, living in Chicago and being janitors. And this fucking Nazi whore Jamie Ree allowed, not just her, it was this Irish filth who operated this scab cleaning company. He was a pig. He retired as a pig, and then he became a fucking, a sponsor of Ukrainian, Mexican scabs. There's a theme there, right? To steal the work of mostly black ghetto janitors, who probably had few options, because a lot of times you're stuck in the ghetto, you can't move out. You go to Indiana, some cornfield, there, good chance, yeah, they're going to be racist against you because you're black, and no matter the content of your character. And so what? That was, kind of the context, right, in which I operated. And, further, I was a Green Party cadre. And I was honest. And, Chicago and the Great Lakes, that's my people's land for 250 to 15,000 years, depending on which part of the family you're talking about. Um, and, they were shitting all over it, with impunity. So, that's why I want to fucking shoot them, right? They're criminals and thieves and, exploiters. But, they're also cowards, right? Like, I had a Polak, the brother of a foreman, who, the foreman was cool, but his brother, as often happens, my brother's a piece of shit. His brother was a piece of shit. I know another guy, Polak, his brother's, oh, God, needs the bullet, like, decades ago, but miserable prick. But, there's certain kind of, Polak who, maybe you get this in Nigeria, I guess, where you're from, what's the majority nationality in, Nigeria, and then say you're, what was that minority in Nigeria that was genocided, that sort of situation, right? Well, my people were Litvoks. Their people are Polacks. Litvak means like Lithuanian Belaruski Jew, and we were overwhelmingly communists for various historical reasons. And the Polacks were overwhelmingly kind of just this side of fascism, right? and it's been war between our people for at least 100 years. So, so this Polak, through his buddy, threatens to beat me with a hammer. And I had a 10 millimeter Glock in my truck, and I'm like, okay, you come at me with a hammer, I'll just fucking, double tap you, Polak, fuck around and find out. And he shut the fuck up real quick, right? Another time, there was this goofy gay Lithuanian, liberal goon. And, again, his grandpa was probably some fascist murderer, murdered my people. In Belarus, that was a big thing. Basically, my town, 80% of it was murdered in one day, and mostly by Lithuanian fucking filth. Chad fucking scum. What? Yeah, so, I hate Lithuanians more than I hate Polacks, right? And I hate Germans or Western Europeans, more than I hate both of them, because they're hypocrites. They're pious, liberal fucking hypocrites. Well, who betrayed our people and betrayed the October Revolution. Long story, won't get into it. Well, so this Lithuanian, I'm walking into work. I've got a Whole Foods bag. I did some shopping. I'm like, hey, Bob, I've got my, liberal Hillary bag. I've go to my yoga class, and he runs at me. He's like, oh, never, don't ever talk about the liberals, blah blah blah. He's like this gay liberal goon, Lithuanian descendant of a fascist murderer, probably. And I'm listening to him yammer on. I'm like, yeah, okay, Bob, sure, whatever. Can we hug? And he won't stop. And he starts like, talking to me like making threats or talking in a threatening tone. Yeah, that's another thing. City of Chicago. I'm a federal anti-corruption hire. I'm honest. I was hired honestly. But, these cunts, they were hired through clout. So they can do whatever they want, right? But, I said to him, look, if it's that much of a problem, just meet me outside, buddy. We can settle it, with fists if you insist. I don't want to. He's kind of big, goofy, cute. Talks like a snuffleupagus, and he's like, oh my god, fight, actually fight, so and he basically ran away, and then on and on and on. I had another run-in with this mafia Zionist. He sent like these pigs who were connected to the feds, accusing me of being an anti-Jewish terrorist, which is absolutely absurd. These are fucking filthy rat scum lying cockroach pieces of shit, right? And he's at the top of the list for repression, right? But since I'm a fucking dirty red Jew, if you're a mafia Zionist pig Jew, you hate me, because basically what I told him was, don't feel bad, buddy. I didn't realize he was a mafia Zionist. I was like, don't feel bad. Like the scum in liberated Soviet Belarus in 1939, the Jews, our people, we, as part of the People's Militia, we worked with the NKVD, and we loaded this filth, Jewish, Polish, whatever, it was an internationalist undertaking. But, if you're a scumbag, a cheat, a thief, a criminal, collaborator with the Polish imperialists. We loaded you onto a cart. We sent you to Gradce, next, more or less next door. And there's a rail terminal there. We loaded you on the freight car, and then we sent you to Siberia, and you became a human fucking popsicle. And very little chance of survival. If you were less shit, maybe you went to, Uzbekistan for, God, 50 years maybe. Yeah, I think it was 50 years. Or maybe 25, depending. But, our people, don't feel bad, buddy. Our people took out the trash and made, Belarus a better place. The least shit former Soviet Republic. Our people's legacy of sacrifice and struggle lives on. Well, he was one of those cunts that we would have deported or shot in 1939. So, he calls up his cartel boyfriend. His cartel boyfriend does a hit and run on my truck while I'm driving home. I have to pull out my gun. The scumbag sees me pull a gun, and he backs off. I later on count coup on the guy again, get his license plate, same car, minute description of the car, minute description of him. I say to my lawyer, okay, tell this fucking pig, here's the license plate, the car description, the description of the pig, or the scum, who hit and ran on my truck, and shove it up your ass, you fucking pig, and get off my land. You're from Mexico. My people are from here. On one side of the family, you're not, fuck off. And so, what else? What other scum did I deal with? And this other guy, he's kind of a tough guy, descendant of Banderovci, Ukrainian fascist scum. And, he threatened me once because, I was pushing this stupid grandpa, another, fascist grandpa scum, to get the fuck out of my way so I could go to work, because all the other filth in Chicago that blocks traffic, a 15-minute commute turns into 45. If you're late too many times, the foreman discipline you. So so this Banderovci, starts screaming, at work on the clock, that he's going to, if I'm not nice to fascist grandpa, he's going to, kick me in the head or whatever, attack me. And I'm just looking at him like, wow, dude, you should, take a yoga class or something. But later on, I'm talking to the Queen of Lithuanians on Facebook, and her grandpa was a, fascist murderer, Lithuanian nationalist. And I said, yeah, your grandpa and his friends, or your grandpa's friends probably murdered all my people in our town. But, my ex's grandpa was Smersh with basically a unit tasked with, hunting down and killing, wiping out, these fascist scum. So, maybe a good chance my ex's grandpa shot your grandpa. It's history. But this Banderovci scum, I drive into work one day and, I glance at him. He's sitting in his vehicle, and he, looks away, and he's, really scared. And, I just wave to him, and I'm like, oh, well, it's history. That's the kind of filth I had to live and work with, right, for 15 years. And I carried 2 guns and 5 reloads and a knife. And I was, more than happy to, fucking shoot any of them at any time. The only thing I cared about was having to go to court, hire a lawyer, all the expense. But, I would have been, I want to shoot so many of them, because they're not human. They're roaches. What was the other one? I won't go into that. It's going on too long. So there are other scum, criminal scum that, tried to threaten me with death, basically, or tried to, murder me. And, I had my guns, and, basically they're cowards, basically, is the point. as Mao said, I'm not a fan of Mao. I'm more a fan of Lenin and even Trotsky, although there are questions historically of Trotsky. But but Mao did say that imperialism is a paper tiger. The atomic bomb is a paper tiger, and I think this writer Gary Brecker, I forget his real name, but whatever. Uh, that went on two levels. One level was they're cowards, they're unprincipled, basically criminals. And if you show a criminal a gun or the willingness to fucking kill the criminal, even if you die, that criminal will fuck off, right? The Polak with a hammer. I got a gun, buddy. Even if I don't have a gun, even if I have to take out my fucking knife and cut your fucking flexor tendons, you drop your hammer, and then I knock all your fucking teeth out, and you wind up in the hospital for a month or so. Okay, maybe you fucking knock my teeth out, right? Or whack me in the head real good. But I'm gonna cut your fucking flexor tendons and fucking put you in the hospital for at least a month. Okay, Polak? Think about that. So, these fucking roach vermin filth, they're cowards. They're paper tigers. And, you look at the Kuomintang, or all the fucking roach filth, the Asian Nazi filth that came to my land in America. And, as a friend said, they're so fascist they would make Hitler blush. Overwhelmingly, they're generally, a lot of them too, they're more the kind of middle class, polite collaborators. So, they're not going to fuck with you. It's more the Eastern European scum, or, the Calabrian, Sicilian scum, maybe, or the Irish scum, whatever. Yeah. Depending, I don't know. But, that are going to fuck with you. But, yeah. Or the Latin scum, cartel, Mexican filth up in Chicago. Oh, half of them. Oh, God. But what's my point? So, but they're cowards. They're just there to steal money. They're sociopaths. They like to, cause fear in people. But, if you're armed, the first thing is, as an imperialist cop soldier said, if you're not armed, you fucked up. And Russia's armed, right? So, Lindsey Graham, fucking waste of life, slaver from South Carolina, descendant of slavers. That's another failure of America to wipe out his ancestors, like we did with the Banderovci in Western Ukraine, and even then. But, Newland, the commissioner of aviation at Chicago Re, Elian, this Uncle Tom, now in Streets and Sand in Chicago, Sunak, Prime Minister of London, Schultz, whatever his title is in Germany, Baerbock, what is she, some EU mucky muck, Green in Germany, her grandparents were Nazis. All of this filth, excuse me, you look at that filth, and I'll append another video where I go to, in terms of that filth, I'll append another video. I go to Kletsk, Belarus, former Soviet Belarus. Some of my family, they were merchants, so probably they, maybe, who knows, were they scum? Maybe, quite likely. But maybe less scummy. Yeah, they weren't deported. And, good chance they were pro-Soviet. So, they weren't the best, they weren't the worst. Anyway, they fled to the neighboring town from Neshuz, and the Lithuanian or whoever, the fascists, gunned them down into a pit in Kletsk anyway. They tried to escape death, right? And they were murdered anyway. And Baerbock, or, who? Not Elian, not Ree, but Baerbock, not Sunak, Schultz, Churchill, or, who's the guy who, Chamberlain, that English filth, I hate them the most. The sniffy, liberal, former social democrat, or Tory, or whatever, so many of that filth, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10, the East Germans in 45, I was reading, now this is Wikipedia, so take it for what you will, but, I believe it, that the East German comrades, I'll call them, They got to, they're part of Germany, and they fired all the teachers. And then they fired 90% of the lawyers. And they emptied out the concentration camps of, decent people, and then refilled the concentration camps with the fucking human scum. Probably 1 out of 5 in Germany were scum. Maybe a bunch of them got killed. Yeah, probably a bunch got killed off, but still, probably 1 in 10 at least, 1 in 7, who knows, in Germany. Yeah, but tens of thousands, right? And they let them die of exposure, or they probably beat them a bit, made them work. Great, but that didn't happen in West Germany. The Nazis were coddled. The English collaborator scum, the Tory scum, the labor scum, they got away with murder. They even put Jewish survivors, socialist Jews or communist Jews especially, in concentration camps, in like Scotland, Orkney Islands, I think it was, or Canada, with Nazis, right? So if their grandchildren go up, I prefer they get gut shot, the Baerbachs of the world, the Schultz, whatever, these grandchildren of fucking Nazis or Nazi collaborators, yeah, gut shoot them, But if they go up in a ball of flame, okay, that's acceptable. I prefer they suffer a bit more. And what else? I guess that's most of it. Oh, and here in Russia, I go to the bar downstairs last night. I'm, in kind of a plebeian proletarian, relatively proletarian part of northern Leningrad. And, basically I'm kind of finding out more and more about, post-Soviet Russia. And, the teachers here, they're cunts. They're filling the heads of the masses with, poison and lies against Lenin and, the beautiful October Revolution, the most liberatory act in human history. They're like, oh, Lenin was the devil. Stalin was the devil. Well, I'm not a fan of Stalin. I think, okay, he did probably murder the revolutionary lair in the Bolshevik Party, and, it's a long story. But still, to shit all over the October Revolution and the Soviet Union, you're disarming the people. It's like, when the Red Army didn't leave my people with guns, at least, some sort of guns, a revolver or something, to shoot the Lithuanian filth and the German filth that came to our town, it's criminal. And so, the people here, one guy, he's an officer in the Russian Navy. Another guy, he's a laborer. Another guy, whatever, descendants, grandchildren of, heroic Red Army, Red Navy, even great-great-grandchildren of the heroes of the October Revolution. They're utterly devoid of knowledge of the October Revolution. And, in part that's their fault. But, the teachers are actively filling their heads with poison. So, in a world like that, I don't really care if it goes up in a ball of fire. I'm 55. I was 23 when my country, the Soviet Union, was destroyed. And, nothing was left to live for, right? I mean, these Ukrainian schmucks, at least 400,000 of them probably, the rednecks, the collaborators, the lace panty lovers, the ones who want to clean toilets in Warsaw, you're stupid. So, you get blown up, taken out by Russian shrapnel. Oh well, I can't say you're better than these European filth or a lot of this Graham, Lindsey Graham or Newland, Rhee, Elion, etc. But if they get blown up, I'd rather they suffer more. But oh well, I guess I have some hope, maybe in a very abstract sense, right? There's not much hope on the horizon in terms of a working class movement. It's implied, or it's basically if the Chinese working class, which has now been mobilized in great battalions, in the factories, etc., although they fucking scabbed on, my family in Detroit. But, what? If at some point they rebel and they, form a revolutionary party and, really make China socialist, that's the hope for the future, right? And then they would probably inspire, the Russian working class, and Russians have told me this. They think China is the future, and that will help the Russian working class, like basically, and there is people in Donbass here, the workers in the Donbass, there's a lot of potential there. They're miners, they're conscious, they have that Soviet regard for the Soviet past, and they have class consciousness, I'm told, but they're class awareness, not consciousness, but they're dominated by the scum of the Donbass, the capitalists and the mafia there. So, the world has been shit my whole adult life, and now I'm about to be old. So, I don't really fucking care. I got nothing much to lose, basically. So, I'm living well here in Russia, but, man does not live on bread alone, and, everything of value was destroyed, during my adult life. So, if these lunatics in Washington fuck up and they get blown up, that's okay. That's even fine with me. I just hope they would suffer more, that they get strung up or shot, in the gut, preferably with a small caliber, and they suffer for 60 hours. That would be the best, but if it has to just be a quick ball of fire, as Mao said, the imperialists are a paper tiger, and that gets back to the Chinese Revolution and Mao. I view them as like heroic bureaucratic revolutionaries, and they committed crimes, in my view, against the real revolutionary cadre in China. But what? But when it came to, in the end, when it came to standing up against the filth like MacArthur, or Truman, or whoever, Eisenhower, they did it, and they said, okay, you want to drop an atomic bomb in the Yalu? We don't have an atomic bomb. Now the Chinese, thankfully, I guess they do have atomic bombs, and more power to them. But Russia has superiority in terms of conventional missiles, and they have a whole bunch of atomic bombs. So, but Mao and the Chinese bureaucratic revolutionaries' approach was, well, 20 million died here, during your imperialist war. My whole family, basically, Belarus, that was the worst in terms of 80 years ago. Like a quarter to a third of our nation was murdered or enslaved, and my whole family practically was wiped out. We don't know how many members of my family existed. Yeah, so, I can't speak to the Chinese experience that well, but, I can tell you it's, actually my people's experience was worse than the Chinese experience. You look at most Jews today, and, they're shit politically. They're shit libs at best, but, what? So, from that perspective, like my land, paternal land, is filled with mass graves, and I have hardly any family left over here, thanks to the West. So, if they want to commit suicide, I'll be happy to. If I was sitting there in front of the button, I'd be happy. Well, I'm not happy to push the button, but I'd take grim satisfaction in pushing that button and sending them all to hell. So.